So what we're going to take a look at now is how to configure and connect up our ROS XPression and our ROS Carbonite. So in this, we're going to touch on both the connections of the Carbonite talking to the XPression, as well as the XPression going into the switcher using ROS Link for our real-time previews. All right, so first thing that we're going to look at is our monitor. So our dashboard display. So I've come in and the spigot's being connected. So inputs 13, 14, 15, and 16 are coming from my XPression. So I've got my CG channel 1 and CG 1 alpha. And so we want to name them. And we've got our coloring and our size of our mnemonics, how they're going to display. We've also configured to make sure that it's selecting from its alpha channel. So again, CG1 uses CG1A, and we're going to be doing shaped keying because we will define that as shaped keying in our XPression as well. CG2 is using CG2 alpha, and it'll also be shaped. Okay, so now what we want to do is look at our XPression. So in our XPression, we do want to know what our IP address is, so we can simply type in CMD and type in IP config, and I can see that I am 10.62.140.209. And we're going to need that IP address a little bit later when we configure the ROStalk control. All right, so the first part. Here what we need to do is we need to come in, and you'll notice we have no frame buffers. So I've launched XPression Studio. It launched. Normally it'll walk you through the process of setting these things up. And again, it should already have been set up, but let's just go through it as if we didn't have it. So if we click on File, go to Edit, and you'll see Hardware Setup. So let's go ahead and click on Hardware Setup. Now you can see I have no inputs or outputs currently configured. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add. So here we're going to click on the drop down, and in this case I'm using a Matrox card. So because it's the Matrox card in my studio system, I select Matrox, and it will set up the configurator. Now, already I can find my XMIO in slot number 0, so we click on it. It will be 2 fill and key outputs, meaning that it will be a 2-channel CG. You'll notice that the Genlock, well, I know that I have Blackburst connected to it, so it'll automatically connect. Now, when we're using tri-level sync, and we're running in 1080, we tend to need to set the vertical to 1124. Now this is just the standard offset that we have to apply every time, and what that does is that sets it to the correct vertical position. Now this is just, I know what this is, so I'm typing it in. If I was giving it Blackburst but operating in 1080, I'd actually have to set the horizontal to about 10,000 and set the vertical to -2. Now again, these are just fixed numbers that work based on these types of references. So when we go to output 1, right away we could say, okay, follow the video mode of the project. Now this is the normal thing to do. However, if I'm always operating in 1080i, but I might get a 720 package because somebody built one that way by mistake, I could always have the board always output in 1080i mode. Of course, 2997, which is the equivalent of 1080i 5994, because fields and frames. And you'll notice we made sure to set the fill mode to be pre-multiplied. So that's the whole shaped keying. So we're going to apply that. Now we're going to go to output 2, do the exact same thing, 1080, 2997, external fill, we're good. Click apply. So once we click OK on this, you'll notice we now have our 2 channels of graphics. And on the right hand side you can see that the 2 channels have come in, and behind us that our frame buffers are no longer in a bad position. And by bad position what I mean is not red. All right, so next up we can come to GPI boards, because what we want to do now is add our ROStalk connector. So ROStalk, this will allow the switcher to send it commands. We tell it TCP, and default port is 7788. And again, that's what you're going to need on the Carbonite when we assign it and set it up. All right, so now we've got our box configured. And so we can expand the channels to be able to see how layering and other features like this work. But right now what we're going to do is jump over to the switcher, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to configure the device side of things so that we can control it. So what we want to do is go Menu, go into System. We're going to go to Device Config. So click on Device Config, and we're going to add a new device. So I click on Add New. Because we talk over IP, we don't select SP or serial port for the single serial port. We take the first available slot. In this case, it's slot 2. So we find XPression, which is a Rostock device. Next, you'll see that the subtype currently, the only one available, is XPression. So we leave it on XPression. Click Next. And now what we need to do is enter the IP address. So as I said, it's for this one, for me, is 10.62.140.209. So I use the middle knob to select the first area, set it to 10, move to the second set of numbers, set it to 62, then I go to 140, finally 209. Now, the next button is lit up. There is an extra menu, so we go Next, and this is where the options are. So the first option is port value of 7788. That's the default. That's what we just saw, so we leave that alone. Next up is our pre-roll. Now the pre-roll works with the roll clip button. And what it does here is it's going to send a command every time the graphics engine goes to air. And then this is the value that it waits before actually putting it on air. So it's essentially sending a play command and then taking it to air. You can ignore the roll clip altogether, which we're going to do because of how we'll run it using custom controls and other functions. And if I was using the roll clip function though, we could then take the next option, which is pick the command. So next, or a GPI trigger, or an event trigger. So since we're going with off, we're not too concerned. And so we click on the knob and confirm the changes. So we go ahead and we've confirmed this change. So now we've got ourselves configured so that the switcher will be able to send commands to the XPression. However, we want to tie it to the device so that when we select the keyer that has the CG in it, or we select it as a cross point, we'll be able to get to the menu easier. Also, when building custom controls, we need to link the device so that we know which one it is when we press the button to bring up the right thing for the menu. All right, so to do that, we go to Config, we go to Input, and then we go and we find our CG. So we find CG1. It's already got shaped as we know, and we come to Device, click on Device, select 2 because that was the one we just set up. And you'll notice, unlike servers, we don't actually have to specify channels, because the channels get specified when we send the Rostock commands, which makes the Rostock very powerful, allowing us to change any graphic, drive its layer, drive its frame buffer, which makes it extremely flexible and powerful versus traditional devices that don't understand that. So we're going to click on and confirm. Now I want to go find CG2. And we're going to go and grab the exact same device, click and confirm. So now we have that device assigned. And what's also nice is if we went back to System and we went to Device Config, if we scroll through and we get to slot 2, we see it's an XPression device in slot 2. And now because we've assigned them, it'll tell us which input sources are assigned to that device as well. So it's very simple to see, yep, that device has those guys, and if I needed to edit it and set a new IP address, if the IP had changed, I know which one it is that I'm controlling. All right, so if I select that key and assign CG1 to it, you'll notice the menu now follows. So the menu now takes us to the commands that we can perform. So up, down, take, next are on the first menu. Then we've got queue and swap. We've got our channel with different functions, like if I want to resume a channel, all layers, or a specific layer, if I wanted to clear the entire channel or just a specific layer on a channel, and if I wanted to, say, swap a channel, or if I wanted to send the new layer off command, where I can specify all layers go off or just a single layer. And this sends the take offline command, not the clear command. Again, when you factor in graphics which have offline events, this will change the behavior. So instead of just clearing the frame buffer, we can send the take offline and it'll make sure to run the correct animation for its offline animation that had been defined in its scene. Of course, you can take off a specific take ID, you can read or move the focus bar and then take online. You can also just set the focus bar. You can use the new queue function, which will allow you to queue a specific item before sending the take command. That'll make sure to put it into the frame buffer queued up, so all of the graphics and things will be loaded, and then when you send the take, it'll always be consistent no matter how much stuff it has to load into the graphic. And then finally, of course, our take command. This is the one where we specify the specific ID, the channel, the layer, and run the function. This is used so that we don't move the focus bar. And this works in conjunction when I have both the switcher doing wipes and graphics control while also having an operator who's building graphics. It makes it very flexible for them to be building a graphic while we run a command. So if we just jump over to our XPression for a second, I can show you what we're talking about. So if I was working on this as the operator, working on this graphic, I don't want this bar to go moving around on me as I'm editing and I'm controlling and building my graphic context. But if I wanted to bring a specific item on air as the TD, so for example, let's say we want to bring the play clock, the score bug in. So that's take ID 8000. Now, what's nice is I can specify where it goes. So even though this is set to layer 10 on frame buffer 1, well, if somebody accidentally changed it for whatever reason, right, 2 and 4, well, on the switcher, when I'm putting that event in, you'll notice that I'm picking the channel and I'm picking the layer. So we're specifying, and when we send this command, it will override whatever's on the expression. So we'll go back to the expression to see it. And so when we take that, you'll notice it made sure to change to the correct frame buffer and the correct layer. And when we look at our graphic, of course, that's exactly where it went. It went into the frame buffer and channel and layer that we had expected. So it becomes very, very powerful in that we didn't have to do anything. And of course, if we weren't on the graphic, because we were on a separate graphic altogether, so I'm here selecting this graphic, when that command is sent from the switcher, you can see it did not move and break away. So now my operator brings in that lower third, and they don't have to worry about the graphic moving away. So as they're taking these things online, taking them offline, me as the TD, I'm still able to control other layers from the switcher itself. Now, when we build our custom control macros, which is where the more useful part comes in, I'll build buttons like previous and next and take so that I can also just clear a channel. If I wanted to just clear CG1, I have buttons for clearing CG1 and buttons for clearing CG2. So when we built these custom controls, it was simply by going to the CC menu, picking the custom control, and hitting Start Record. Then using that menu to insert the function. So if I look at this, I can see that the first event, and the only event, is to clear channel 2, slot 2, clear channel 1. So slot 2 being the device that we assign. So if we go ahead and we delete this event, so now there's no events in it, so we start recording, right? Now, I'm going to use the keyer to toggle to the menu I wanted. And the reason for this is if I pressed it as a cross point, it's going to do a cross point assign. This won't enter any information. So here what I wanted to do was I wanted to clear an entire channel. And so we're going to clear channel 1, all, and we inserted that action. And that is literally everything we have to do. Jump back to the menu and we hit stop recording. So you can see now we're clearing that channel 1 just like we had built before. And with our other macros like previous, well, I just moved the knob up. So what I mean by that is when we go to our keyer, you see that we have up down. So when we scroll counterclockwise, the scroll bar inside of dashboard, or I should say inside of XPression, is moving up. And when we rotate clockwise, it moves down. So when I built those custom control macros on the switcher, all we did was turn the knob up once, did the next one, turned it down. Then we inserted the take command, and we inserted the next command. So the take command is not going to move the bar on you. Now what that means is when we go back to XPression, so we're going to go up, and you'll see when I hit take, our focus bar does not move. But had we used take next, you'll see that after each take, it advances. So it steps through that sequencer and moves one at a time. Now, how this interacts is how we've built our graphics. So in this case, the graphics were built so that when we did a take next, that went online on frame buffer 1. The next item is going to go on frame buffer 2 or channel 2. So maybe we lose the key, bring on the next key, so that when we take next, right, it advances. Now, because I have 2 items back to back on the same frame buffer, and what we mean by that is you can see here that right now this slab is on the same channel, same layer as the next item in preview. So when it's run, the other one knows to go out first before bringing in the new graphic. And that's just how the graphics are built. Now, building the XPression graphics, all of this type of use, transition logic, you can look at our XPression U sections and XPression U tutorials for building out your graphics. We just want to show how the simple commands and the interfacing between the two allow you to control all that in your sequencer. And to be able to have in, out, as well as back-to-backs all on the exact same, channels as layers and events. So now what we've got going on is kind of neat. We're able to drive everything from our XPression from the switcher panel. And by integrating these two, we've now gotten ourselves to a good point. Now, it might be hard, especially if the XPression is being run by another operator, to be able to see that preview channel. And so one of the things that we can leverage is something that we learned in the XPression Live CG, and that's about using ROSLink. ROSLink, now that we set up, is going to use the media store. But instead of us using it as additional still channels, though we could do that as well and make this a 2-channel video CG and 2 more channels of still-only graphics on separate channels. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to leverage Media Store 1 to make it our preview channel. So in XPression, I'm going to go into my hardware setup. And so just like before, I'm going to add a device. So we're going to go to the ROSLink connector and click OK. So now it's going to ask us for our IP address. So a quick way of doing it is just go to the switcher, go Menu, System, Next, Next, Frame IP address. So the frame's IP address is 10.62.140, so 10.62.140.216 in this case. And we want to use channel 1 because we want to use media store 1. And I'm going to specify that it always sends it as 1080i because that's what I'm operating in. Again, if the project was 720, it would auto-convert before sending it to the frame buffer. You'll notice it has a checkbox for send black image when frame buffer is cleared. This I would use if I was setting this up to be a channel of CG. But because we're going to use it as our preview, we're not worried about sending the black image. So we click OK. So now that we've assigned this media store and it's connected, now I want to go to preview and monitor. And so from here, I can say that I want my up next. So whatever my slab bar is on, I want it to use Roslink output 3 as its preview. Okay, so let's quickly go in and we'll go to our multi-viewer real quick and we'll change the alpha box here. We'll make this media 1. And media 1 is actually now our XPression preview. And maybe I would have gone into the name and I would have changed it to XPV for XPression preview. All right. So now if we look at our multi-viewer, you can see that we've got that replaced with an XPression preview. And as soon as I select a graphic, it's now going to render that graphic in real time. So all that information coming in from external database sources has been rendered in, and I can see it. So now I know that when I take this next graphic, what I see is what I'll get. So I go ahead and I take that graphic, the old one goes out, and in comes the new graphic. Exactly how we had it. So now in XPression, we move on to our next one. Now you can see that it's called it up, it's ready to go. We go ahead and we take that to air, and the old one goes out, the new one comes in, and everything that I'm seeing, when I advance the sequencer, it gives me that real-time information. So I move ahead, there's my next graphic, take next, in it comes, it's moved on to the next item. So if I go ahead and I switch to that next person, right? Out goes the old, in comes the new, etc., etc. So now, not only are we able from the switcher, able to control that graphics rundown, so moving around in my graphical item, now I see that real-time preview. Cletus is who I want to take, so take next, in comes Cletus's graphic. Now we've got our slab, which will come in right off of this as well. So go ahead and bring in our slab. So by functioning that way, when we go and watch that exact same sequence of events, it's easy to see. So we'll go up to the top, right? So that came online. Now Alonzo Martindale's key comes in. I can see what it is. Now I could always have done a takeoff line, but we'll go ahead and just take next. In it comes. Up comes the next one, but we're going to skip that. So move down in that frame buffer. Cletus is who I want. Bring in Cletus's graphic. And now we've got the correct slab. And so the slab will replace the existing one. And as that line is moving ahead in our XPression, so all along as this line was moving down, and it's showing the operator the preview, it was also at the exact same time placing that exact same graphic with that same data in real time into our frame buffer. So giving us a full preview in the monitor wall. So as you can see, the flexibility and the power of XPression tied to a Carbonite switcher because of not only ROS-Talk, but also more importantly ROS-Link, and linking the two together and being able to utilize them as one device. So I hope this topic was informative and that you got something good out of it. If there's any subjects you'd like us to cover or a video topic that you'd like us to do, please send those requests to switchers@rossvideo.com and we'll be happy to get to it as soon as we can. Thanks again for watching and have a great day.